Hello, everyone, and welcome to this interview. I'm Francis Seeley from the Enfield Climate Action Forum, and we have just done some hustings of some of the main parties around the local elections that are coming up next Thursday on May the 5th, and we wanted a chance for other parties to give their view as well. And today we've got Mira Glavardanov. I hope. Yeah, I think I've got it. I got it pretty close. Just call you Mira. That's easy. We've got Mira with us today.
It's actually Mira, but Mira is also fine.
Oh, Mira. Okay. We've got Mira with us today, and she's from TUSC, the Trade Union Socialist Coalition. And we're going to ask her just a few questions, very short interview on that. So thanks, Mira, for joining us. And maybe you can just start by telling us what TUSC is and why you think it's needed.
Well, TUSC is, as you said, it's a trade union socialist coalition. So it is made up of trade unionists and socialists, so from different organizations and also from individual socialists. Why it's needed? Because, well, we think that no other party represents the interest of the working class. Labour doesn't, in our opinion. So we want to present this alternative really to the business as normal, which really means following the interest of big business and not really of ordinary people.
Okay, well, you know the questions I want to ask you there about climate change and the environment, because that's what EnCaf is all about. Now, you know, overwhelmingly, scientists have said that climate change is caused by human activity, including our own personal consumption. But you hold the view, don't you, that it's a more structural problem than that?
Absolutely, yes. And actually, environment is today really on the agenda of most socialists, really. And this is because we recognize that capitalism, really, which is the system we'll live under, is actually responsible for the climate change. Now, when you say we humans are responsible, well, yes, well, obviously the animal world don't have capitalism, but it's really capitalism that is responsible, not ordinary people. It is the system that drives this destruction of the planet. And because it is the system that is based on profit and accumulation of the capital. So, and that profit motive really overrides all other concerns, and that includes the concerns about trying to look after the environment. And I mean, we know that corporations go around the world and they cut forests. I mean, how many of us have signed petitions to save the Amazon and all that? They go and destroy ecosystems because, for example, by mining for minerals. And we as ordinary people really don't have a say in it. But why are they allowed to do this? Well, really, governments allowed them. Capitalist governments really work mostly really for the interests of big business. And, to say that they are neutral in between, looking after the interests of ordinary people and looking after the interests of big business, that is not true. They are not neutral. And this is why really we have this problem in the first place.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, let's go on a bit, because you've given your overall view, which is important, the sort of global view, and that's important. But this is a local election, and we have a number of local issues coming up. And in EnCaf, we published a manifesto with a number of pledges that we wanted people to sign up to. And one was about the incinerator in Edmonton. What's your position on the incinerator?
Well, we are opposed to the incinerator. What I was talking about, yes, it is global. I mean, climate change really is a global issue. That doesn't mean that we can't do things locally. I think for us, what we can do locally is, first of all, not to make things worse. And second, also to push for the change that would eventually affect the change on a national level and hopefully on the global level. So in terms of the incinerator, well, the incinerator is certainly making things worse in Enfield. We really don't need this extra polluter, not just an extra polluter. This is the biggest polluter in Enfield, and not just in Enfield. I mean, the plume travels all around North London. So we are absolutely against the incinerator. And of course, it's built in a very working class, predominantly Black and Asian community. Why is that? Well, you tell me why. I mean, I think we understand why, because they just thought they could. I mean, they stopped it in Bromley, they stopped it in Cambridgeshire, and I hope that the local people will stop this one, and hopefully TUSC will help in that as well.
I mean, that's an interesting answer, because you say it affects disadvantaged communities. So is the idea of climate justice central to what TUSC believes in?
Absolutely. I think, climate justice and social justice is absolutely connected to the climate issues. I mean, we see, first of all, the vast inequalities on the global level. I mean, the poorest countries that contribute least to the climate change and to the greenhouse gas emissions, they actually suffer worse, and poor people do suffer worse. And in another way where I think it is very, very connected is that if we ordinary people actually had a say in how the economy is run, we would never allow our environment to be destroyed, because we see our parks, we see our environment around us as really ours. Capitalists don't see it, they want profit.
Okay, and another issue that we've talked about is the fact that traffic creates a lot of carbon emissions, and it's a major factor in climate change. How would you tackle the traffic problem?
We would first of all want better public transport. We would argue for more bus routes. We would even argue, we would argue for free transport. So unless we really have very, very good and cheap or even free public transport, we really can't really punish, I think, drivers, and car owners, because people have to go to work, people have to go, I mean, okay, they don't always have to go and to take kids to school and from school, but often they do, and people are very, very busy, and cars are very convenient. So we can't really blame ordinary people for driving their cars, but we would argue, well, let's make public transport really, really affordable or free and really, really good, so that actually people can use it a lot.
Okay, and another issue which I know you feel strongly about, and lots of people feel strongly about, is land use, green spaces. Green spaces are very important for stopping climate change. They're very important for our well-being, but there are problems there are challenges to green space in the London Borough of Enfield, aren't there? And in the east of Enfield, in Edmonton, there's a problem that there isn't enough green space for people. So what would your response to the challenge of land use be? I
must say land topic in general is one of my favorite things. First of all, I mean, there are so many things that we can talk about land. First of all, for us, we want to build council housing, and Meridian Water is built on public land. The council owns this land, and they are building thousands of properties, flats and houses, and most of them will be sold privately. for what they say will be affordable is not affordable. So we want to challenge that. We say council housing has to be, public land has to be used for council housing. Then in terms of parks, white webs is a big issue, and actually I'm standing in white webs ward, and it is a big issue, and I often go and have a walk there. And we are, as socialists, we are by definition opposed to privatizations. We are opposed to privatizations of land, of the NHS, of council services, of more or less, and we want to nationalize big companies. We are talking about really big companies, not your corner fish and chips, but when we talk about nationalization, it's big companies. So to say, I would say that, I mean, main parties, when they claim, some of the main parties, when they claim that they are opposed to privatization of the white webs, well, what people need to look, what do they do nationally? I mean, privatization is in their DNA. They are not opposed to privatization. This is what they want to privatize, but I think here they use it quite opportunistically, because unfortunately the Labour Council gives them that space, in my opinion.
Okay, another big issue that we face is housing, because housing is, again, one of the biggest contributors to climate change, because in the UK we have some of the most inefficient insulated housing in the whole of Europe. So how would you go about tackling that? How would you go about dealing with the problem of retrofitting, and how would you pay for it?
We would pay for it, of course, with public money. We would pay for it. I mean, it is, I think, a big lie to say that there isn't money. There is a lot of money, but money in this kind of society we live in actually is sucked up, upwards. So there is a lot of money, but the money is in very, very few hands. And we know that the government gave 37 billion to Circle to test and trace, which didn't even work. I mean, the NHS would have done it for maybe 1 billion. So where is this money gone? So there is a lot of money, and we would invest that money in, first of all, council housing, and also council housing that is very, very sustainable and ecological. We would use insulation. We would want to insulate already built houses just as well, and we would pay for it. We would give people grants, and we would pay for it.
Okay, and incidentally, in the election, how many candidates have you got standing?
We have 5 candidates in 5 wards. So we have a candidate in Brimsdown, in Bullsmoor, Palmer's Green, Southbury, and White Webs. Okay,
then finally, can I ask you, standing for election as you are and the other 4 candidates on May the 5th, what is the main message that TUSC would like to offer to the electorate?
Well, as I said first, the main message is that we offer a real alternative for ordinary working class people. We are working class people, we are trade unionists. We want to stand up for the working class, for the interests of the working class, and that means housing. I mean, there are 11,000 people on the council house waiting list in Enfield. We would want to house these people. We want good jobs. We want to save our public parks. We want to stop the main policy of TUSC is to stop council cuts, not to vote for, to pass the central government cuts, because we say there is money, and money needs to be invested in ordinary people, in our schools, parks, etc.
And what will be your main message you gave to the electorate on climate change and the environment?
On climate change as well, we have to tackle the causes of it, because no main party, they don't even mention capitalism, let alone challenge it. And we want to challenge it. And this is the cause. And unless we challenge it, all our recycling, or everything we do as individuals, which is all very, very important and really necessary, but all we do is absolutely useless, I must say, unless we challenge the big polluters, and this is the big business and the system that allows them really to do that and to destroy our planet.
Okay, well, thank you for doing that. And I think you've got your position over very clearly. So we'll make sure this goes up like all the other interviews did. So Mira, thank you for doing it. And
thank you very much, Francis, for inviting us.
Well, yeah, you're welcome. And we'll end this interview now.